Hello, troublemakers. I know this is almost the third or the fourth time you're listening or you're hearing this voice on this channel. My name is Rodgers, and I am mostly behind the technicalities, but I am hosting today. And I am in Dar es Salaam with a friend of mine. He's well known for a lot of things, including content creation, how he does his film. He has acted, I think, at some point, and he has generally done a remarkable and a phenomenal job in the creative industry. I will let him introduce himself. I know he's a jack of many trades, but he's a master of one, which he will talk about. And today we'll be discussing with him the principle of audience dilemma. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's really good to be here.
If you do not mind, can you please tell our first time listeners or people who are hearing you for the first time who you are, what you do, so that I can get to understand you better?
Yes, so my name is Wilson Nkya, but I go by Willy Nkya. I'm a film and TV producer, but also I do content creation and influencing. I've been doing film and TV for the past 5 years or so, but now I've transitioned to content creation fully for social media and other digital platforms. So I create content like branded content, helping brands communicate through my content using my authenticity, my creativity, my life, showcasing who I am, and just simply sharing a life story, like my life story, and finding ways to add brands and communicate.
That is an incredible introduction, really. Tell us more about the projects that you have done, projects that were exciting for you to do, or that you can remember most among the many that you have already done.
Yeah, so on the film side, one of the projects I'm really proud of to be part of was a documentary called The Empty Grave, which is a documentary by Kijiweni Productions, and I was the production manager for that documentary. Was looking about the whole concept of restitution, yani, um, talking about our ancestors' remains that were taken in Germany during the colonial era. So it is a documentary that allows an audience to think and puts them in a situation where they have to revisit their history and find out, like, oh, this is an issue that we perhaps were not talking about. So we followed two families in Tanzania that are following their ancestors who, that's why it's called an empty grave, because until today, the ancestors were not given the proper burial. And in an African ritual and African tradition, it's very important that you finally bury your loved ones. So if you're not, you don't see their bones and everything, that means they're not fully resting. So imagine for the families that they're gone, and then here you hear your ancestors are being exhibited in museums across Europe or America, and you as a family are still mourning because you have that right to bury. So that to me was a project that it was really interesting to be part of, apart from just being part of the process making it, but how it made the audience and the families feel after we made the project and the impact it has had across the world. And then now when it comes to the social media side, I think to me, almost all the projects I've worked with Yas, which is a telco company, they've been very interesting, allowing me to push my limits and experiment my creativity and just how I could tell a story of a brand. And I think those are some of the examples that I can quickly remember that to me still stand out till today. Example, I think when I was part of the TV commercial of Yes, and that was my first time being in a TV commercial. I'm used to being behind the scene, but that was the first time in front of the camera, acting to it, and then how I was able to transform the content from the behind the scene to tell the story of the actual TVC, my journey, and at the same time the product or the campaign I was pushing at the time. So that was really good. Meaning, as an audience, I'm giving them different options to choose from in one piece of content. Yeah.
That is quite an interesting story, Willie, and I really do hope I get to watch the documentary that you just talked about. How can we find it actually?
So at the moment, it's currently screening in some places across the world, some festivals. But I think if you're able to follow Kijiweni Productions page, they do post updates there. So currently, it's not available. I think it's available in a streaming platform in Germany at the moment, but it has screened across Tanzania in different festivals. So hopefully, to get more screenings soon.
Awesome. We hope to get to see it. And if you are following through this conversation, do not hesitate to check out Willie so that he can direct you, or check out Kijiweni Production so that you can get to know what was documented in the empty grave. So today, Willie, we are talking about a principle that is named "Put Your Target in a Decision Dilemma." And why I actually vouched for you to be in this episode was because you are a content creator, and I know at some point you interact with your audiences, And the main reason of you to make your content is you want your audience to make a decision from what you have given them to watch, to listen, or whatever the case is. For instance, for your case with Kijiweni Production, with the production that you have been in, you want an audience to have a certain reaction after watching your content. So this is a principle that is written by Andrew Boyd, Joshua Kahn Russell, and it's basically giving your target two ways to choose or to look at a certain issue. It's either they make one decision or they make the other, of which at the end of the day, it is a decision that will benefit you entirely. So in terms of organizing, I hope organizers can help me elaborate this more in the comment section, or however you can interact with us. But it's generally making your target make a decision that will suit your interests. So at your stage of content creation, how or what techniques do you use to enable your audience to make a decision?
Great. That's a very good question. So when I go back to film, like background in film, one of the things that we usually do is do a bit of research and development before actually making a film. So that means we take time to research and think about the audience that we're making this film. So we usually start from the point of like, who do we want to talk to and why do we want to talk to them? So when I would reflect back in being part of the development of the Empty Grave is the audience was different kind of people. We're talking about governments, especially governments that are involved in this agreement. That's why we had different parts and different sources to be featured in the documentary, because we wanted them to be the audience to receive this and allow them to make decisions out of that. Meaning, is this important? Why is this important to them? So we're able trying to answer that question. Then we're talking about the Tanzanian community and the German community. These are also different audience. Number one, the Tanzanian community should know that this is still an issue happening to a fellow Tanzanian. So allowing them to learn and make decisions, oh, is this our problem or is it not our problem? So allowing them to see that this is actually our problem. It's something that we have experienced as our Tanzanians, and we should be united and work together in helping our fellow Tanzanian and rewriting our history. And for the German communities, for them to know what has actually happened, what their country has done, and what those what those things they see in the museum mean for the people who belong to, who own those things. So that was something there. So then again, for the historians, we're just trying to show them that there's some stories that are not covered that they need to be spoken. There are some heroes that are not spoken about that need to be spoken. So honestly, we had so many things that I think we were targeting different audience, and I'm glad we're able to touch on those points. Now, when it comes to social media content, definitely, majority of the work that we create, of course, there is usually a commercial aspect. That's the decision you want a person to make. But sometimes it's just an awareness. You just want a person to know this product exists, but you also want to solve different problems that they're going through. And then again, this dictates the platform you put in. So, example, TikTok has more of a younger generation. So if your audience is young people there, but the way you present that product or that content should be in a more palatable way for that audience to engage and understand what you're talking about. So, example, what I would post on TikTok is not what I would post on Instagram. I'm heavily Instagram and TikTok. That's where I create a lot, or YouTube per se. It depends on the framing, how you shoot it, because all these elements come into play. So, for example, we're talking about production design and allowing this frame to tell the story. So sometimes not necessarily wanting to sell your product, but I want you to see, example, the world I'm in. So, for example, I'm having a good time. I'll place things at the back so you could be interested in knowing what is that place or what is this location. But at the end, that's when I'll allow you. If you want to know more, maybe do this so you can make this decision. Or if you don't, then just like and share and tag somebody who perhaps will be interested. So again, we usually do that a lot, allowing people of different kinds to engage and perhaps make different decisions depending on what we want them to do or experience. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification, Willy. I know one of the things that content is supposed to have or would actually enable someone to make a decision includes emotion. So how do you create emotions in content? Like, is it the camera framing? Is it the characters? Like, just tell us generally, especially for people who do not understand anything about content creation. How do you like capture emotions when you're creating content?
That's good. So usually in content creation, like personally, I'll speak of my experience to be exact. So I do a lot of like storytelling type of voiceover scripts where usually I would start with a hook. So a hook is to capture somebody's emotion, somebody's let's say I like to start from a problem point of view because I know problems are usually emotive, like mtwaki. Also, if somebody hears a problem, it captures them. I was like, oh, this is they're talking to me. So that relatability point. Then again, I sell them the feeling of me experiencing something. That's why 100% of my content I tag them as Willy experience because it's me experiencing. So obviously, a human being will enjoy seeing another human being experience something. So they want to see how you engage with that content, how you feel when you example using that product, meaning I'm touching on the emotion. And then when they see I'm experiencing something, I'm experiencing several emotions in my content, it transfers to them. So usually a bit of research again we do. So for example, I would start with a strong hook. For example, when I'm promoting a product, let's say it's a phone, I'm like, oh, you're looking for something slim. Are you tired of doing this? So I'm talking about different problems they experience, and then I'm able to market that. But of course, looking at how I choose the visual, because again, I need to put whatever I put on the screen, especially the first 5 seconds, should be something beautiful, something you want to look at, something you relate to. So obviously, I'll find visuals that would actually keep you watching, because again, sometimes of our content is that not every time everybody will watch it in full volume, so they need sometimes they would see it. So again, I have to think exactly what I want them to see. So of course, the aesthetic, what is the background? What is it? What am I saying? Does it match my background? So you try to tell story, like audibly, but also visually as well, allowing the background to tell the story that you're trying to sell. Because again, content can be consumed in different ways. That's why I always like to do videos at the same time audio, meaning somebody can hear my content, but also when they see, they read, it still gives them that same experience. So usually I target different audience, but with that same piece of content, allowing everybody to understand and engage in that content.
That is a perfect way of putting it. Now, this podcast listeners, majority are organizers. That is why it's called Troublemakers. So, for a context of Troublemakers, tell us, you as a certified content creator, how does a troublemaker create their content to actually pull or rather attract fellow troublemakers? If you get what I'm gonna ask.
I'm gonna do my best. But yeah, hey troublemakers. um Honestly, like every day there's a new form of content. Every day there's devices that allow you to create any sort of content, and anything is content as well. Like 10 years back, podcast was something very difficult for people to do, but now we're doing it here in Dar es Salaam, and you can move anywhere. Our phones before were just used to make calls and like receive calls and send messages. Now they're devices that you can make a whole film and everything. So devices are there. So dear troublemaker, if you have a device, use it. That device is very powerful because again, these companies are competing. Everybody wants to make a really good phone for people to be able to succeed in life. And the digital world is like moving in technology. We speak about AI and the rest. So number one, whatever type of content you think about it, like I'm sure it's the same content that you consume online. So when you go online, think about how that content make you feel, and then think about what the gap is that you think you can fill. So for example, you're an organizer, look at how what other organizers are doing and think about how different are you. Especially in business, you always think about what makes you stand out. And I think that's what allows like you as a content creator to succeed in. Everybody is loved based on your authenticity, how different you are, how creative you are, how dedicated you are, how passionate you are. And if you're able to transform that into your content as well, like it will allow you to stand out. So again, I know people sometimes saying they're comfortable being in front of the camera, but these days there's faceless content creators who create just content. We don't see them, we just hear them, or we just see whatever they're creating. These days there's so many ways. Again, do a bit of research, especially it starts with what content you consume, what you like, and build it from there. So for example, I started with travel and lifestyle content because I saw people traveling, having a good time. I was like, oh, I can do this. I started doing it, and then I found my voice in it. And then I started sharing it, and people started engaging with my work. And then I found my style. Then again, brands found me because I was a bit different from what they've seen before. So again, you starting, of course, at first there's that imposter syndrome, like, oh, I'm being that content creator, like I'm following the trend of everybody's a content creator now. But I'm just saying, take it, do it, have fun with it, learn from it, and of course, just be ready. The digital world is a bit ruthless. Of course, there's comments, hate, and everything. But again, if you know what your goal is and your vision is, take it away. And as I said, the world is your oyster. Your smartphone is very powerful. You can do so much with your device.
With the work of activism, we look to work with different organizations to like get partners who can support us in our works, and something like that. So how do you actually let partners, let institutions, let people who you can actually work with find you? Is it in terms of again researching on what they stand for every now and then creating or curating your content according to what they stand for, so that they can one day find you online and then like message you like, hey, let's work together? Or is it writing proposals and then having some works that you have done already, then sending them to the people that you want to work with, so that you can like pitch to them like, let's work together in organizing 1 2 3? How do you make someone who can support your work find you?
That's good. So as you mentioned a bit about the whole decision dilemma or the whole concept of like audience dilemma and finding different audience. So number one, of course, sometimes we create content with a purpose of, yes, a viewer will see this, they will enjoy this content, but I want a brand to see that I can make really good content and I have ways of I can putting. So example, it could just be me in my house getting ready to go somewhere, but I will show several products so as any brand that has similar product could see that I could position their product there and the people they could get the numbers that they want. So sometimes we do just content for the sake of like pitching, but not necessarily pitching, but you just want to show. So sometimes we'd even use a specific brand. For example, I'll perhaps start my day and then put a part of the Troublemakers podcast. It's like every day in the morning I listen to this podcast. I love it. And then I continue with my day. So I've already given you a taste that I could actually feature and talk about your podcast in my daily routine. And then people would go listen. And the other way, of course, is do write proposals. Sometimes you pitch yourself, especially if you see there's a brand that you feel aligned to their values, you feel aligned to like the vision, you feel they align to who you are as a person. Sometimes they do pitch. The other way is again is most brands have marketing and advertising agencies that do reach out to content creators who their job is to like select and find content creators or influencers who fit the brand specific. So they are most of the time they'll be the one reaching out to us. And then when it comes to that point where now they're reached out, of course, one of the things is that we do is you get a bit of briefing to understand the brand, what is it about, and sometimes you would have to decline, especially when it comes to a brand that perhaps you don't see it aligns with who you are, that you feel like, oh, it's not being authentic to who I am truly am, or who my audience believes me as am, and especially because everybody has different goals and mission and whatever they're doing with their lives. So sometimes the brand comes, they're like, no, I don't think me being associating with you is something I would want to continue to pursue. It also becomes again, you talked a bit about activism, so things about politics and something. That's an area personally, politics and religion, it's an area that I don't go because again, it's very sensitive and I find I'm not very well in that area. So also sometimes I'm very skeptical in involving myself in such concept or topics because again, it's not my world, it's not who I am as a person. So and I know the impact that sometimes that might cost to the people, especially my audience and and me as a human being as well. So there's some topics I do not go for. And yeah, the only thing I'd say I have used a bit of my voice, especially when it comes to like creative. I've being a creative in Tanzania is very challenging, especially starting off as a filmmaker. Like a Tanzanian youth who's very creative has no clear roadmap on how they could actually make a living out of their talent. And in this country, there's a lot of challenges. Speaking about policies, just recently we've discovered that content creators we need to be under the Tanzanian Film Board. Now we need to register, but that's just happened like this year, 2026. But we've been existing all this time. We don't know what are like what rules guide us. We don't know how like the whole revenue and tax system. So that has been challenged. So I have used a bit of my voice trying to speak about who we are and what we would love for the government to do for us, participating in workshop and dialogues and just being in spaces where, you know what, I think it's time we be part of the decision making tables because again, we are the youth, we are the people who live this life. I think there's even one time I called out a festival that was a bit disrespectful to the filmmakers at some point, and I used that. And I'm glad that video went viral around the creative the creative industry, especially filmmakers. And I was like, oh, Kumbe, I can actually be a voice at some point and speak about all this injustice that would happen, especially in the creative industry. That's the industry I'm well vested in. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that highlight, Willie. So I do know every work has its own challenges. Like, for instance, you can name a few challenges that you go through in content creation, and how you can actually go around these challenges. For instance, I know there's a matter of devices. How do you go around whenever you find like a challenge that like a challenge that a challenge that involves you not having a certain device or something like that, or there's a challenge of accessibility. Let's say you want to go and record at a certain place, but you cannot because it is a restricted area. So how do you go around that? How do you navigate such kind of a situation?
Oh, that's good. There's a lot of challenges. Thank you for pointing out. So device, yes, would be a challenge, but now I'm finding ways to overcome that. I think I'm truly grateful that I'm able now to have all the basic devices I need. So speaking about a good phone, like microphones, tripod, and sometimes I'll even have hire an assistant to help me shoot. So I'm glad that but again, as I said, smartphones and devices now are really getting better and better, meaning less equipment are needed. So, example, the sounds of the phones that we have now is very good. Sometimes you don't need an external microphone. They're very interesting device now that you can use to attach your phone if you want to shoot something in the car, which is very good. Of course, when it comes to accessibility, this is something we experienced before when it comes to film. Like you have to ask for permits, they take forever. And then again, you have to demonstrate, like you have to explain. It's very difficult and very hard. So personally, I think one of the things that after experiencing it a lot in the film industry, when you want to tell the story, but you can't access a place, example, you want to shoot in a prison, you can't. You want to shoot, example, in a courtroom, you can't. So all these things, one of the things that I said in my content creations, like I will center my content around areas that I know I'm able. So that's why most of my content will be my house, if it's not my house, my friend's house. If it's not an event that I've been invited that I know I have the rights to shoot there, it will be there. If you're not a tourist site, example, it's a national park, which I know I'm allowed to shoot there. And then if it's something that I really need to do, then definitely I will seek for a permit to get that permit. But again, it's really challenging, especially if you want to shoot in the middle of the streets, then you have to get a permit and all these things. So I'm hearing that they are coming with a solution where filmmakers or content creators could have like a permit that allows them to access certain places. I'm hoping that will be successful because it would be nice to have like a permit, an annual permit where you can shoot and you just use that. Compared that we see in other countries that some of them have this, but I'm hoping that that would come. I think the other challenge, of course, would be the whole monetization part and the whole sustainable income. We're speaking about finances. The creative industry is an industry that the finance isn't as stable as you would expect in other types of jobs. So again, how you charge, how you manage your finance is something that we're not really exposed to. That education, and especially the speaking about the whole financial literacy, in a sense, the tax system, everything, this is still not clear to us. But I think as a young content creator, it's very tough to get all these answers, but you learn on the go. So I was able to learn as I move and realize, oh, this is how I should charge, this is how I should manage, this is how I'm able to make a living. Because again, usually get enticed with some good deals. Somebody gives you a free stay in the hotel for, let's say, 2 nights. You create 10 videos for them, not forgetting that those 10 videos will make them more than how much they spent on you for the 2 nights. So how to build that? Somebody will invite you to a restaurant for just free food, and you're like excited, like, yeah, I'm gonna eat. But just know the next 24 hours that food is gone from your system. But you've made them 2 videos or 3 videos, whatever, that they will use for the whole year, that would attract 1 million customers who would go there, spend more, and you're just there. So again and again, because we're like in a visual space, sometimes you're enticed to fake a lifestyle, to pretend like everything is well, like, hey guys, get ready me as I go to this event. But maybe you've been given a complimentary to go to this exclusive event where you go, but you have to like pretend like that's your lifestyle, but it's not. So it's pressures like that of like social media as well sometimes might affect a content creator, because again, when you go online, you see Rodgers is living his life, is traveling the world, And you're like, oh, I want to do that. So you save up maybe to just travel, but in real sense, you're struggling. So sometimes that, like, people being vulnerable to accept who they are as they move. Because again, one of the things I was saying in my content, I was being as real as possible. This is how I move. This is how I live. This is my house. This is my room. And like, you think this is not luxurious, I don't care. That's up to you. But this is my life, because I didn't want the pressure of faking, which a lot of creators do that. Oh, of course, I know there is that saying, fake it till you make it. You guys keep faking till you make it all the best, but sometimes it's important to be true to yourself and who you are, because that'll allow you to see yourself grow than pretending you've grown, but technically you have not. Yeah.
Willy, I know the content creation industry is among the fast growing industries at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, for an individual who aspires to create content, whatever kind of content it is, what do they need apart from passion, of course? Yes. What do they need to have in terms of equipment, in terms of a mindset, in terms of anything really?
Okay. For a person who's getting into content, first of all, I'm just having open-minded, because honestly, I wasn't expecting to be a full-time content creator and influencer as I was starting this. I was just doing it for fun. I was just, you know what? I feel like my life is interesting. I feel like I need to share and document what I do, because sometimes when you meet people that ask questions, and for me, content at first was more to answer questions of things when I post. For example, I'd post I've gone to a waterfall. People would ask, "Where is this? How do I get there? How much is it?" And I was like, you know what? I could just make one video that would answer all this question. And when I saw that doing well, I was like, oh, let me keep doing more of these. And some people would even tag me into a place like, oh, there's this thing. Can you go there and do a Willy experience for us? And I was like, oh, okay. So I did. And then little do I know that's actually transitioning to a career. Even brands would reach out. Oh, can you do a Willy experience and have our product? Can you say you're going to travel somewhere and then you meet, let's say, our Carla, and you're able to do transaction and in your trips? I was like, oh, okay. So this actually makes sense to you guys. So let me venture into it. So that made me transition from film to this. So again, for a content creator, just go with an open mind. Be ready to have fun as you create, because again, joyful content does very well, because people are going through a lot, and sometimes when you go into the internet, you really want to see another human being at least having a good time or sharing their life with us. And again, be real, be ready to be who you are, and also online and real life, because sometimes that's important. It allows you to be authentically you. Because again, when you go in the mindset of social media, knowing kwamba I'm going there to act like a celebrity while you're not, that would be like a wrong intention to get into the space. And again, be understand that growth is unpredictable on this platform, especially with this new algorithms every day. So sometimes you can put a lot of work in creating really good content, but it doesn't do well. And some of the content that you perhaps just wake up with your like deep voice or whatever, you're not like no makeup, nothing. When you do a video, it sometimes it does well. So again, be having that open minded will allow you to see that, oh, content is not necessarily a certain type of content. Although yes, you might have your own style and everything goes, but just go with an open mind and know that these platforms are unpredictable. So just do you, do whatever you can at the moment, and let the rest go. But again, as I said, an open mind, know that because you're putting yourself out there, you're allowing people to have opinions about you, who you are in your life. So be ready to receive criticism, receive comments, receive just somebody trying to release the stress on your content. Because again, people, as I said, everybody has a smartphone, everybody has a right to press on that keyboard they have, everybody has access to data and internet. So they will say anything. And sometimes, yes, it might be very painful and triggering. But again, understand that this is a public space. You've entered the public domain where people have opinions. And because you've put yourself in front of their screen, they will have an opinion, whether you like it or not. But again, how do you use that opinion? Personally, I love the hate comments, guys. Keep them coming, because they make the page interesting. But also, they allow you to see different side of your content. Because again, sometimes you need that criticism. You need somebody to put you in check. Kwamba, oh, please, we don't like. We're tired of seeing your bedroom. Can you show us something else? Somebody will just say that, like, hey, that lotion has been like that since you started, like, this 3 months now. Ooh, to me, like, why you? So you get just people commenting anything. It's like, those dreadlocks are like, somebody just say anything, and I love them. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So that means maybe I need to improve something in my content, because if somebody looking for the negativity, that means perhaps I need to check, look, review the content, rethink, because sometimes yes, content does flop. But yeah, and then again, have your devices ready. Be ready to put yourself out there, and as I said, open minded and be flexible because this world is changing.
Okay, I'll take you back to the theme of this specific episode. I know you have talked about how you put your target or audience for this context in a decision dilemma on the Empty Grave documentary. Now, how can you actually put, or what techniques can you use to put a target or audience on a decision dilemma?
So as I said before, that whenever we are thinking or trying to put up content, whether it's film or documentary, of course, with a bit of research and like developing the idea, we usually think about who we are targeting for this project. Of course, sometimes it might plan, but it might not go as that because again, the audience is changing. The time you think of an audience or do a sample like survey of the audience that you want to target, maybe sometimes you might get it wrong. That's usually an error that perhaps I've experienced in my personal content. But I'm going back to when we were doing the empty grave, that we were targeting different audience and allowing the audience to have like a question. Every audience to have a different question at the end of the film. The number one, of course, for Tanzanians to see like how this film resonates with who we are and have these questions like, oh, if this is happening to this family, how many other Tanzanian families happening to them? So allowing them to rethink and go back to the history and think like, oh, we thought this was okay, but this is actually not okay. So a lot of families are reaching out like, oh, we also have the same situation. Our ancestors were taken and all this. You're like, oh, so that message went there to the families that perhaps they know this is a problem, but after hearing the stories of these families, they're able to like relate to it. Then, of course, it brings to the Germans. When this film was shown into Germany, a lot of people didn't know this part of history because, again, it's not told in their context. Like they do not know what the ancestors have done to the African continent, especially East Africa and Tanzania in general. So to them, they just go to museums like, oh, this was taken in this is like this is a skull from Tanzania or whatever, East Africa. They don't know how that skull is important back home because that's a human being who had a family that needs to be taken back. So it was very interesting when it was shown in schools and some festival and how much conversation it was able to bring. So again, that was also like a decision for the Germans to start. And because of that, after that whole process, the president of Germany came to Tanzania through that documentary, one of the things, and wanted to meet that family of the Songea Mbano in when he visited Songea, when he visited the Majimaji Museum. So again, that's something that we're hoping for governments to understand this is an issue between these two countries. Now, when it comes to my personal content, I would say obviously, because some of my content now is heavily commercial. So of course there is that I have to strategically think how I want this person journey after finish watching my content, what decision I want them to make. So number one, of course, would be perhaps buy that product, recommend that product to somebody, or perhaps just know that there's this product. You don't need to buy it today, but just create that brand awareness that this product. So again, it depends on what content I do. So example, one of the things that I usually do is after getting the briefing of what this campaign is or what product is, that definitely I need to take time and think how best way I could present it so for it to make sense. So I don't want just person to watch. Of course, I want them the first decision is for them to watch that content first, like engage with it. Then at the end, I want them to do something after. Perhaps is buy that product, recommend, or just comment and tell me what your story is so I can find ways of maybe telling a better story to touch you. So it's usually different, but of course, a bit of research is done at first in seeing how. And again, it comes also to platforms. We usually think of what platform, what audience we're targeting. So some content will be strictly for TikTok, some will be for Instagram, depending on who this audience we're trying. So example, Instagram needs to be more visual or aesthetically pleasing because that's the audience. And TikTok is just really fun, engaging, fast paced video. And yeah, and that would say that's one of the things that we do to put that audience in that decision dilemma, I would say.
That is a really nice summary of the entire conversation that we have had before. Just to give you final, if you have any final touch-ups or notes that you would like to share, in case there's a question that it was burning for you for me to ask you, but I haven't. It's the time now to answer.
Oh, what question did I want? I think not really a question, but it's just like and advice is that we're in a world where content is king right now. Everything is content, meaning whatever you think isn't content is content. These days, everything is content, and any business needs to create content. Everyone needs to create content, whether you like it or not. Nowadays, we're in that world where it's heavily visual, and we have access to these devices that allows us to create and consume content. So I would say this is a check to yourself and anybody listening. Please look at your life and look at what kind of content you consume. And again, these platforms are also building up like the algorithm to make sure you consume a certain type of content. And again, this content sometimes might be good, but it might also be bad because again, heavy consumption of something is bad. So again, be careful and be mindful what content you consume, share, and also you expose yourself to, and especially like people with families and stuff. I'm not blessed to have a child yet or a family, but I can imagine this world as raising a child, how like content can be harmful and also good. Because again, some content is very like informational, educational, that's very good, but some is a bit it's not the best out there. So again, being in a world that's content heavy, you need to be mindful what content you want to consume and understanding when something is a bit too much to take a break. And again, have fun as well in your content journey and just be you. I would love to interact and engage with you guys online. And of course, if you don't mind, you can check me out on all social media handles at Willy Nkya. That's WILLYNKYA, and I'll be happy to have a chat with you.
We are going to put all these links on the description, so do not hesitate to follow through his work and also ask if you have any questions about the documentary or the work that he has done. If you are an aspiring content creator, with regardless of what kind of content you need to create, Willy can assist you into navigating that journey. He's a really open person, a very friendly person indeed. And yeah, with all that, I would like to say I would like to bring this episode to a wrap. And I thank Willy very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It has been a long travel from Arusha to here, but you
Karibu-san.
gave us this opportunity today, so we thank you.
Karibu-san, it was lovely having you guys, and like yeah, love to see more content. And thank you so much, Troublemakers. And yeah, guys, your content is your voice, and please use your voice wisely.
Your content is your voice, and use your voice wisely. Until next time, Troublemakers. Ciao.
Ciao.
Hi! We hope you enjoyed the conversation on this episode of Troublemakers and feel inspired to stir up some good trouble in your own community. Do feel free to check out our other episodes and subscribe to Troublemakers Podcast in your preferred podcast app. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook as troublemakers.podcast for all the latest updates, behind the scenes content, and sneak peeks of what's coming next. We also love to hear from our listeners. You can email us via troublemakersthepodcast@gmail.com or simply drop a DM through our social media. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, take a moment and share it with a friend or leave us a review. It really helps us grow our community of troublemakers. Keep shaking things up.